Hello, good evening. It is Friday. It is over and over and over again, and this is going to be the final Arsenal Women's Weekly of the season. So it's a celebration more than anything, a celebration of the season that we've just witnessed, which has had some high moments, it's had some low moments as well. So we are going to look back on the last, 10 months that we've enjoyed watching this team play. And we're going to give out some awards as well, some end of season awards. It's going to be really, really good fun, and it's going to be a great show. So sit back and enjoy as we look back on the 2022-2023 season coming up the other side of this. So a nice little short intro. And we have got with us, of course, Andreas and Matt, who's just disappeared off camera for a minute. We'll be back shortly. Andreas, good to see you again. You looking forward to the show?
Yeah, of course I do. Although it's a sad moment, it's the last show of this season. But anyway, it was a very impressive season. And when we look back on this season, I think we have a lot to discuss and a lot to talk about. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely a lot to talk about. A lot's gone on, hasn't it, over the last few months, as we'll get into as we go along. And Matt, of course, good to see you back on the show again. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know I've not been as regular, but unfortunately due to work and other things going on, but I'm looking forward to just going back on everything that we've done over the last couple of months and looking forward to it all.
Yeah, it's been, as Andreas said as well, it's been a very eventful season, hasn't it, on and off the pitch? And we've been there every step of the way, enjoying it. Most of it we've enjoyed. The one or two moments we haven't, which we'll look at as well. Now, what we're going to do is, what I thought the best way to do it is, I'm going to do it a similar way to when I did the men's season the other night. Is we'll look first of all, go through each little competition that we were in. Just look back at that competition, how we performed in it, and maybe give us a mark out of 10 for each competition as we go through it. Okay, so we'll start with the easy one, the quickest one, the one that we didn't last very long in. Then we'll have a quick look at this one. So the FA Cup then, we got just 2 games in the FA Cup this season. Obviously, lower league Leeds, we kind of beat them quite easy, didn't we? 9-0. Kind of shows that in the women's game still, there's such a big gap, isn't there, between the very top and the teams lower down the scale. Much more of a gap than there is in the men's game. You very rarely see 9-0s in the men's FA Cup. They're very, very rarely. So even when non-league teams play Premier League teams, it's generally a more competitive game, and that's an issue that is going to have to be looked at over the course of time, because we can't have that much of a gap, really, because it's not good for women's game in general, is it? And that was what that game demonstrated, didn't it? How much more work there needs to be done lower down the scale. The WSL is fantastic, the level is brilliant, but lower down, there's issues and stuff needs to be done. So maybe that game highlighted that a little bit. And we knew we'd win. We won comfortably. We could rest some players. We had a different sort of team, and it was an enjoyable game to watch from our perspective. And I'm sure Leeds enjoyed the day, and I'm sure their players would have gained a lot from that, playing against a team of our level. I'm sure they would have done. But of course, after that, we got the draw. Nobody would have wanted that early on. Chelsea away, of course. And every year, it seems our FA Cup run ends against Chelsea, one way or the other. But the final, semi-final last year, now it's in the 5th round. One day we will beat them in the FA Cup, I'm sure, again. And that was frustrating. We know that game we spoke about on it, didn't we? We had chances to have won. We could have gone through with the chances that we had. We didn't take them. And unfortunately, Chelsea got the goals and won. And our FA Cup run came to an end. I mean, Andreas, it didn't last long, did it? Our FA Cup run this year. Hopefully, we wanted to go to Wembley, but it wasn't to be. I know you went to the final anyway, but it was a shame we wasn't there. But yeah, not what we were hoping for, really. But I suppose there's no disgrace losing to Chelsea away, is there? It's just the manner in which we lost was quite frustrating, wasn't it?
Yeah, FA Cup was a short one for us this season, but yeah. Chelsea away is the worst draw you can get in such an early round. So it's the best team in the country, and title holders, title defenders, and playing away at Kingsmeadow is always difficult. But yeah, we had a good match there, and for most of the time in this match, we were the better team. So we could have won there, but once again, Chelsea was the one to score the goals, and this is one of their most strength they have, that they win the close matches, the important matches by scoring goals and not conceding. Yeah, so football is so easy. If you score more goals than your opponent, then you deserve to win. And so Chelsea deserved to win. Yeah, it's a pity that we were out so early. I think we would have been able to compete against any other team, maybe at home against Chelsea, but away there is, as I said, the worst draw, and we have to accept it and go on for next season for the cup, and hopefully we'll get a better draw or get Chelsea only at Wembley.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like we do seem to play Chelsea every year in the FA Cup at one stage or another, don't we? So, yeah, ideally it would be at Wembley as opposed to certainly not away. You don't really want to play them away at any stage, really. But I think we showed enough this season in the matches against Chelsea, and we'll talk about that a bit more later on in the other competitions, that we've got no reason to fear if we do get drawn against them again next season. To fear that playing against them. I think that we've closed. I think in recent years there has been a gap between us and Chelsea in the matches that we've played against them. They've been superior to us in most of the games, but I think this season in particular showed that gap's really closing, and there's not really much to choose between us. And on any given day, we can beat them, and we've shown that this season. We have beaten them this season, as we'll come on to. And yeah, it's. I wouldn't be worrying about necessarily playing Chelsea now. Obviously, we'll see what the transfer window brings for both teams, I guess. But at this moment in time, I feel confident if we were to play them next season, we could get the better of them and go through. But yeah, it was frustrating to go out so early, really, because it's a nice, we've won the FA Cup the most times. It's a great day out of Wembley if you're in the final and whatever. It would have been great to have been there, but it wasn't meant to be this year. And maybe when we look at some of the other competitions later on, we'll maybe see that perhaps going out of the FA Cup early might not have actually hindered us in other competitions. Perhaps it helps us a little bit in certain other games later on in the season, maybe. I mean, Matt, what did you make of our short, brief FA Cup run? Because, we all hoped that at the start we're going to go to Wembley and win the cup, but it wasn't meant to be this year, was it, for us, unfortunately?
Yeah, and let it be known that under Jonas, we've essentially had at least one or two semi-finals over the last couple of years since he's taken over. So the first two being the FA Cup semi-finals and final. Unfortunately, we got knocked out in the quarterfinals last season of the Conti Cup, which we'll come into later on. But it was just at this moment in time, I think you look back and go, I'm kind of glad that it went that way. But I remember when we were talking about the draw and everything, and I had to show Andreas the footage of the draw and how that was conducted. It was so poorly done, and it just you bring up a draw, and you take, for example, the Champions League draw or the men's draws. It's really conducted either like you put in a bowl where it's everyone can see it, and basically they make sure that there's no I'm trying to use the right word here. There's no cheating going on, essentially.
Yeah, you can see what's happening. Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas it just they just had the balls in the bag, and it was almost just like no matter what had happened, it wasn't shaken enough. There was nothing going around to say, oh, it was almost like these draws had already been picked before they were even chosen. And it was pretty poor. It felt really unprofessional as well. The fact they were both sitting down doing that draw, and it just felt kind of inevitable that was going to happen. Like it was either going to be us or Man City, or it was just sort of one of the two teams were going to end up drawing each other. We know that over the last couple of seasons, it's usually been Man City, Chelsea, and won the semi-finals, or Arsenal, Chelsea, and won the other. It's just the way the draw goes. But to get that out of the way, it just felt really bad. Considering that, okay, there was some really good, decent teams. I will point out at this point in time as well that the FA Cup, that again, they need to do better with that. not just on the way they conduct the draws. They need to just be better professional about it altogether. You look at the preliminary rounds of the FA Cup. They have the BBC have them live, ITV have them live now, and you're just thinking there's a market in there for teams like I remember Lewis were playing Manchester United, and I believe that was on the FA Player. Why are there not? Why are these games not being put on the onto BBC and ITV and given a proper opportunity for everyone to see? It just feels really bad. I remember going back to last season as well in the FA Cup. Southampton went up against Ipswich, who they were in a title fight with. Kayla Rendell goes and scores an excellent header in the last minute of extra time, and unfortunately you couldn't find the footage because it wasn't on the FA Player. It wasn't even shown live. So unless you were there, you wouldn't know what was going on unless you were part of the social media accounts. It's just really, really bad that we're coming into sort of the modern era of football, and there isn't really a modern solution to these sorts of issues that we're seeing in the FA Cup. But when we come back to Arsenal, I think it was just a case of we'll try our best, and we did, but it just didn't work out that way. And if I had to give that cup a rating, I'd probably say a 6 because we tried, but it wasn't enough in the end.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I think a 6 is not a bad score for the FA Cup. One good victory and one unfortunate defeat. I mean, Andreas, give the FA Cup run a score out of 10. Then I know we didn't go very far in it, so it's not going to be too high a score, I'm sure.
Yeah, from 1 to 10, or
yeah, 1 to 10, yeah. 10 would be winning it probably, and 1 would be getting knocked out in the first round by Leeds. But what would you say?
A 3. It was too early that we went out. I think, yeah, it was just a 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe, because we went out to Chelsea away, which is a tough draw, and because we actually played pretty well on the day, maybe a little bit more than that. I mean, Matt, 6 is not a bad score. Maybe a 5, I'd maybe be tempted to go for, because we did go out early. But yeah, it wasn't the most memorable FA Cup run, was it? I mean, going back to the TV though, Matt, what I do think a little bit is because of what we said before about the women's game, the gap between the top and the rest. You don't get many cup shocks in the FA Cup. I think with the men's FA Cup, there's always a likelihood of a shock. So TV want to show a game like that because the likelihood is that they could see something special, a big cup shock. You don't tend to get that in the women's game at this moment in time because the gap is so high. So I don't know if that's the reason why TV don't want to show it, because who wants to see Arsenal beating Leeds 9-0? We do, but it's not going to help women's football, is it? Seeing games like that on the tellies, maybe. And maybe that's one of the reasons. And until maybe we get to a point where you do start getting some shocks, until teams like Leeds can beat a WSL team in the FA Cup, until that starts happening, maybe the TV aren't going to be interested, unfortunately. And I agree, they should be, because it's a great competition and they should show it more. But maybe that could be a reason why they aren't so keen to show them type of games, because it's not, as a neutral watching a game, you don't really want to see one team win 9-0, dear, let's be honest, because it's not really good for the game. I remember when the Lionesses have won a few games, haven't they? 20-0, we won a game, didn't we, last year? And, it's almost pointless in a way, isn't it? And maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know, but it should be given more. It definitely should be given more publicity, without a shadow of a doubt, and hopefully going forward it will. But we'll see what happens. From our point of view, yeah, we were out quickly. We scored a lot of goals in the competition, 9 in total, but that was all in one game against poor Leeds, who did give it their best shot, didn't they, that day? But obviously they were never going to be able to do too much. We've got LG in the chat, says, evening gentlemen, how you doing? Good to see you. Terry's in as always. He says, good evening, Richard Andreas, international man of mystery, and Matt. Good to have you here for the season's finale. Wouldn't have been the same without you. Indeed, it wouldn't have been. And so he said, I'll take it. Amar hasn't got his watch fixed. Unfortunately, Amar's at work. He's had to work on the late shift this week, so he can't be with us at all. So it's not to do with his watch this week. His watch is fine. He's just at work, unfortunately. So Amar can't be with us, which is a shame. We've got a magnificent Jaffa in the chat, says, evening to your legends. Good to see you. I hope you're well. Jaffa says, next season is going to be even tougher. Chelsea already signed 2 good players. We have to bring top players if we want to win major honours like the Champions League, WSL, FA Cup. Yeah, but every season's getting tougher and tougher, isn't it? Because all the teams are improving, and it's the way it is. And we're going to have to do the same to compete. Of course we are, but we haven't done too badly over the last couple of years. We were 1 point away from the title last season. We've won a trophy this season, semi-final of Champions League. So we're not far off, are we? And let's hope we can keep going. Terry says, to be honest, I thought we shouldn't have lost to Chelsea at all this season. It was our own downfall. We couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, I agree. We could have won all them games. We played them 4 times. We could have won them all. And in the end, we just won 1 and lost 2. So, yeah, disappointing. But anyway, that was the FA Cup then. Not really too much to talk about there because we went out rather too early, which was a shame. But the other domestic cup went rather better, didn't it? Again, not many games to talk about because we only had to play 3 games, a quarter-final, a semi-final and a final, but we won them all. So that was even better. We ended our little trophy drought of, 4 or 5 years without a trophy. So it was nice to get a trophy on the board. And yes, out of the 4, it's probably the 4th on the list, isn't it, of what you want to win. But when you haven't won anything for a while, and particularly under this manager, we hadn't won anything at all, and this team, and it was great to finally break that duck. More than anything else, it was a great run, wasn't it? Aston Villa finished 5th. We beat them 3-0 in a quarter-final at Meadow Park. Really good performance. The semi-final went all the way to extra time, didn't it? Manchester City, another team that finished in the top 5. And we got past them. And then, of course, the final, what more could we have wanted? Chelsea at Selhurst Park, going a goal behind early on as well. It looked like they were going to do us again in a final, as they've done so many times. But that performance after that first sort of 5 minutes or so was just remarkable. The way that we played, the way that first half, we could have scored 5 or 6 goals in that game. And to play like that against a team like Chelsea and to win that cup in that manner, for me, it was definitely one of the highlights of the season. We'll come on to the highlights a bit later, but for me, that was definitely one of the highlights of the season, that final, the way that we played, and obviously winning the cup. I know, Andreas, you were there, wasn't you? It was a great day, wasn't it? A great performance from us. And it was so nice, wasn't it, to finally get one over in Chelsea in a cup final, but also to end our own little trophy drought. I think we needed to win something, didn't we, this season? So it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great day and fantastic performance from the girls, and especially how they responded to this early goal. I can remember the situation after 2 minutes. I thought, okay, it's going to happen again. Yeah. Once again, Sam Kerr and Chelsea, and it will all be over again. And the way the team responded, they seem to ignore this being 1-0 down and just following the match plan and doing what they planned, and everything worked out on this day. We had a quick equalizer and then 2 more goals in the first half. The third goal just short before the halftime whistle. This was nearly perfect. And then we knew that the second half will be difficult because Chelsea will try to come back and be back in the match, but we didn't let them. We dominated the second half. Of course, Chelsea had more ball possession or had a few chances, but the second half, there was never a feeling we could lose. And this was really a brilliant performance from the whole team and a deserved win. It was not a lucky win. It was not that you could say, the referee decision or so. No, it was really deserved win from the better team. And I think this was one of our best performances this season. And the atmosphere was great. There was, I only heard the Arsenal supporters. It was nearly as if no Chelsea supporter was there. And the whole day was just a perfect day. I was so happy when I saw the girls celebrate in the end. And of course, I can only give a 10 for the Conti Cup this year. We couldn't do better. And we have a trophy. The girls deserve this. And the season, the following matches, the following season showed how important this was for the mental situation of the whole team. Just having won something and knowing we can do it. So this helped for the rest of the season, and Conti Cup was perfect this year.
It was, yeah. And I mean, the fact that as well that it wasn't, I know we didn't have many games to have to play, but it was a difficult run that we had. We had difficult teams to get past. And so it was, yes, we had two games at home, I suppose, which obviously is an advantage, but it was still two tough games to win as well before the final. So, you know, to say that we didn't deserve to win that cup, you know, I know people said, oh, you know, we didn't have to qualify through the group stage and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's because we were doing something a little bit more difficult in Europe at the time. So we couldn't play in the group stage. But that was the rules. We had 3 tough games we had to win, and we won them all. And we won them all playing good football. All 3 of those games, I thought we played really well. And you have to say that as a competition, 10 out of 10 is the only score we can really give it, because it was almost perfect, wasn't it, from start to finish? We only conceded that 1 goal, and that was in the final very early on. And look how we responded to that, as you said. I mean, Matt, you were there as well, weren't you, at Sellers Park? And I saw some of the videos that you did. Brilliant stuff. I mean, it was a great day, wasn't it? But more than anything else, it was, as Andrea said, the belief I think we got from winning that game. You could see it afterwards, and hopefully going forward, that's going to be really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and just to point it back to that game against Villa, it was a game that we were really up for, and it almost seemed a bit odd because I'm pretty sure Villa at that time, they had a couple of games before that game. That I think it was around that time where we were having a game being postponed left, right, and centre. So we were in that rocky period of we haven't played, so we might have a bit of a lag. But to come out and win 3-0 against Villa at home was great, and it showed our intent. It wasn't like, well, last year where against Man United, where it was just going to be Alessia Russo who scores at the last minute winner and that's it. It was we're going to go out and we're going to make sure that we do something this time around. And even in that semi-final, you thought nothing was going to happen, and then right at the end, Stina comes in, pokes that ball home, and you think, right, she's going to kick on from here, and it kind of did, and it kind of didn't. But you look at that final and the way Stina used her self-confidence to boost herself throughout the rest of the season. It was fantastic to see, and she really grew up. I know that a lot of the rumours were going around that apparently we were going to ask to swap with Alessia Russo, and all that might have been in her head. The fact that she hadn't been scoring, and she was just at the same time she was our only striker at that point. So it was almost like she was getting fatigued, and it was at that point where we were kind of like a breaking point with her. But the fact that she just ran the show and she just did it so well. If I had to give a score, not only that, for us to go and win the cup as well when we're 1-0 down after 2 minutes, it's huge mentality. I think the actual way we won it on the virtual toss. The fact the home fans got the Homestead end, which is Palace's biggest stand. So effectively, I think from the fans' point of view, because we had the bigger amount of fan availability to put into one stand compared to everyone else, the fans were going to always make sure that the team were there from zero to 90 minutes throughout that entire game. If I had to give a score, it would be 25 plus 10 plus 2, which is 37, which, for those wondering, is all the goal scorers in that final, because I think it was needed. We needed to have something, and I think this year we said a lot of us wanted a trophy. It didn't matter whether it was going to be an FA Cup, the Conti Cup. Realistically, Champions League was there, although 50-50 because of the draws and things like that. I think we'll talk about that later on. And the WSL, I think it just sort of slowly fell apart in the end, and which we'll talk about a bit more. But the Conti Cup was just something I think Jonas put on the board as soon as he saw that draw against Villa and saw the rest of the teams in that competition. He said, "That's the trophy, and we're winning this season. Next season, we're going to hope to try and carry on that title and do a better job holding on to these competitions."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do think the first trophy that you win as a manager at a club is really important, and it doesn't really matter which one it is. yes, one of the bigger ones would have been fantastic. But to win your first trophy is so important, isn't it? And I think that now, I'm sure the Continental Cup was the first trophy that Joe won as well, wasn't it? And then we went on to win the league title. So it can lead on to bigger and better things by getting that first one on the board. And hopefully, and the signs are from the way that we played from that final onwards, it suggests to me that could well be the case, and we could well go on and go on and win more trophies on the back of that. And we've now got one on the board. And yeah, it was a difficult run. It was 3 good performances accumulating in that final, which was just incredible. Terry says, the thing I like most about that fantastic day, it was the first time the girls didn't look nervous, and we defo kicked on from that down to the end of the season. Yes, we didn't look overawed by Chelsea, did we? We went out there, and even though we went behind, we didn't look bothered by that particularly. We just cracked on without how we were going to play, and we fully deserved that win. Terry says the only sad part of that great day, they didn't show Salty Emma's face enough. No, they showed it enough. Her interview afterwards was quite salty, wasn't it? What she said about us. But anyway, that's her all over, isn't it? But never mind. Terry says Stina that day proved she's world class. Yes, that's what you need, don't you? You need players to when the pressure's on in the big games, that's when you see who can step up to the mark and who can do that. And Stina did that day. Not only Stina, but she had a really good game in that final, didn't she? And she proved a lot of people wrong, I think, that day. And she kicked on from there like the rest of them. But yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, at least 10 out of 10 we have to give the Continental Cup this season. It's fantastic to get that trophy, to see the girls lifting a cup at the end of the game is fantastic. And to see them at the end of the season, with a trophy is so important, and it's just what football's about, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We love to see the team win trophies, and the players want to win trophies as well, the manager. So we've got that one done. We got a trophy on the board, and now let's hope it's the first of many that's going to come our way in the next few years, and the signs are good. Now, of course, after winning the Continental Cup, it did seem to give us a lot more belief in ourselves and in everything else, despite other issues going on with injuries and whatnot, which we'll talk about as well. And I do think that going out of the FA Cup, then beating Chelsea the following week in the final of the Continental Cup, really set us up nicely for what turned out to be a really exciting run in the Champions League. I mean, we'll come on to a sort of moment of the season and that a little bit later on when we give out the awards. But having 60,000 fans at the Emirates for that semi-final against Wolfsburg was just incredible. I mean, it was just, you can't even put it into words how incredible that is for a women's Champions League game or any women's football match to have 60,000 fans. And we could have got more in. More people would have come to that game. We could have sold more tickets if the ground allowed it. There's no doubt about that. And that was just incredible to be there that night, to experience that whole thing. And yes, we lost the game, but ultimately that's not the thing that's come out of that the most. It was disappointing. Of course it was. We'd love to have been playing in a final tomorrow, wouldn't we? We'd love to have been us against Barcelona. We could have been in Eindhoven now doing a show live from some cafe in Holland, which would have been cool, wouldn't it? But it was a real shame for the girls as well that we just couldn't quite do it. But that whole Champions League run, from the very first game when we went away and won 5-1 in Lyon, the holders, all the way through to that semi-final second leg extra time when we, went so close to going all the way to the final. It was just an incredible run. And you could see as it went along, the belief, as we talked about before, you could see how much it improved, didn't it? Going 2-0 down in that first leg at Wolfsburg away in 20 minutes. It was like, how on earth did we even make that competitive from that point? It was just an incredible effort. And that to me was one of the real big highlights of the season. The whole Champions League run, not just that semi-final, but the whole run from the group stage onwards, it was just incredible. The Bayern Munich game at the Emirates, what a performance that was. That first half was incredible. And it was littered, wasn't it, that Champions League with performances like that. And to me, that is such a great thing for going forward into next season, because as it's been mentioned already in the chat, it's going to be tougher next season. Of course it is, but what we've learned from our experiences this season, I think, has put us in really good stead. And that Champions League run for me, yes, only getting to the final and winning it would obviously have topped it, but as it was far exceeded expectations, didn't it? I don't think any of us, no matter how optimistic we were, expected us to not only get to the semi-final, but to go that close to getting to the final, taking it to extra time, and just being so unfortunate in that semi-final, the way that game played out in the end. But I mean, Andreas, that Champions League, it was incredible, wasn't it? What an amazing campaign it was from the first kick in Lyon to the final seconds of extra time at the Emirates. It was just amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, fantastic Champions League season for us, and an incredible run, and so many moments in this Champions League season for us that were really unreal. I would have never believed this before. What happened in this Champions League season? If you told me before we are going to win away at Lyon 5-1, I would have said, sorry, are you crazy? I don't believe it. Looking back, it still seems unreal that we have beaten the title holders 5-1 on their pitch. Fantastic start to the Champions League. And then I think in the whole group stage was really strong. There was only one weaker match, but this was the home match against Lyon. But this had its reason in Wiv's injury. I think in this moment the match was over, and it was only just to secure qualification for the knockout stage, and we did this. But the next match we won in away at Zurich. I think it was it 9-1 or 9-0?
Yeah, 9-1. Yeah.
I mean, this is not a team of the third or fourth tier. It's a national champion, and winning there with 9-1 is just fantastic. And then the two matches against Bayern Munich, both matches we dominated. We were the far better team, and we deserved to go through. Fantastic performance. And what we did against Wolfsburg was unreal. The performance there with 2-0 down, coming back and nearly having won there at home with all these injuries everything that happened during the match, the VAR decision against us when we scored a goal, the injury to Laura, unbelievable that we came back and were so close, and sold out Emirates. I remember Jonas' words after the North London derby in the WSL, when he said you can fill a big stadium just for one special match, for one special event, but doing this repeatedly, doing this again and again, this shows the development of the women's football for a club. And we proved this, or we showed this development. There were 3 league matches with more than 40,000. Then the Bayern Munich match were about 25,000-30,000, and then sold out against Wolfsburg. Fantastic. This growing together from the fan base with the team was extremely this season, and the performance of the team just fantastic. Of course, we can't give a 10 for the Champions League season because we didn't reach the final. But if you see the situation from the team, I think we would have gone to the final tomorrow with 10 or 11 players from the normal squad. So the chance to beat Barcelona would be very, very low. And maybe it's better that we don't have to go there and are beaten 4 or 5-0. Then everybody would say, look, Arsenal is just a weak team. They can't compete against Barcelona. If we had our best team, then I would like to play the final. But so it's okay. Of course, everybody would have taken the chance to go to penalty shootout when you are 2-2 after 180 minutes. You want to take this chance. But what could they have done better? They gave everything. They gave 100%. You remember how many of our players had cramps in extra time. We should have changed 5 players, but there were not 5 players on the bench to bring them in. So it was just a match to remember. And I think in 1 or 2 years or 5 years, we will look back and say, do you remember the Wolfsburg Champions League match, the sold-out Emirates for the first time, and how the girls performed there? It was just fantastic. And I think we were all proud to be Arsenal fans and to be fans of this team. What they did was incredible. So what can I give? I give 8 points because we didn't reach the final. We didn't win the Champions League, but I think the 8 points out of 10 are really deserved for a fantastic run.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic run, and as you said, so many great moments and great memories from the whole competition that we played. Brilliant, some great football. And who would have thought that we could have produced what we produced and get as far as we did? And yes, we didn't reach the final, and I agree with the state of the squad now. And the players we've got injured and stuff, we wouldn't have been able to do ourselves justice in the final tomorrow, would we? Let's be honest. We would have. I'm sure the girls would have given everything on the day, without a doubt. But we wouldn't have really been able to do ourselves justice, would we, with the injuries that we've got, the key players missing. And maybe it might work. It might have worked out for the best. And maybe next season, with hopefully a fully fit squad by the end of the season and new signings and stuff, maybe next year might be a better time to get to the final when we can really go there and give it everything to try to win that trophy. So yeah, disappointing. Obviously, we're all disappointed that night at the Emirates, but as you said, Andreas, absolutely right. So much pride for what this team produced in those games against the best teams, in some of the best teams in Europe. And we wasn't, last season you could see we were short, against Barcelona in the 2 games when we played Wolfsburg later on. You could see we were short, but this season, in no game in the Champions League did we look short. We competed with everybody. And yes, we lost at home to Lyon, and we know the reasons behind that defeat to a certain degree was the injury, as we know. We did lose the game away in Bayern in the first leg, but we competed so well in that game, and we were unlucky to lose, as we know. So, yeah, we were really unfortunate not to reach the final maybe in the end on that night. But, yeah, I say 60,000 fans at the Emirates, that's one thing. And I think you're right. In years to come, everybody will look back on that game as being maybe the turning point for women's football in this country. To be able to sell 60,000 fans into a game for a women's game in this country was just amazing. And you're right, Jonas says it's about not doing it once, it's about doing it consistently. And we did this season. We had a lot of games at the Emirates, and they all sold well, didn't they? Yes, the Champions League group games not so much, but you wouldn't have expected them to. And maybe next season they need to look at that. And is it worth playing them there? Probably not. Knockout games definitely, and obviously the WSL games, they've already got more booked in. So, but yeah, I mean, an incredible run. It's just, it almost feels bad just giving it an 8 for what progress that we made and how well we competed all the way through to the semi-final, second leg in extra time. We took it as far as we could possibly take it, other than to penalties, I suppose. So it almost feels a bit harsh an 8, really, but I can understand why we didn't win it. And you're right, you can't really. It's difficult to give it too much more. I'd maybe be looking perhaps at a 9 just for how many great moments that it gave us all the way through. I mean, Matt, obviously it was, we were all disappointed that night at the Emirates, but what a fantastic run it was, and what a brilliant effort that they put in against some great teams as well. It wasn't we had an easy draw, because we didn't. We had a tough run, and we produced time after time and rose to the occasion, didn't we? All the way through.
Yeah, we really did. And it all started with the preliminary round against Ajax.
Yes,
being at home at Meadow Park, and we're 1-0 up, thinking, okay, we might be, if we get another goal, I think we can be a bit more comfortable. Fortunately, they go and score a goal and bring it back to Amsterdam for basically a one-shot shootout, and we won that game 1-0, and that set us on our way. The draw could have been a lot tougher, but at the same time, it could have been a lot easier. And at this moment in time, I think we're grateful for the fact that we got Juventus and Lyon and Zurich, because I know there's always a whipping team that you kind of look at. But bear in mind that Switzerland's and their national teams, they're always qualifying for things, or close to qualifying. But at club level, their clubs are not at the standard as everyone else, which is one of the reasons why I'm in favour of really expanding the Champions League a little bit more, instead of having this. I mean, it just gets more complicated next season. We're going to have essentially 3 knockout rounds before we eventually get to that group stage, whereas United will have 2. No, not 2. 1. Sorry. It just
one two-legged game they'll have.
Yeah, one. Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, but again, it's just one of those things where what the saying goes, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And we really did learn our lessons from Wolfsburg, as you've mentioned, and we really did rise to our occasions. I remember, actually, funny enough, the game against Lyon the day before was the Ballon d'Or. L'Equipe decided to label Beth as a guest. So a little bit of revenge on that part, but it's just through that group stage there was some moments where you thought, okay, this team looks solid. I don't think any of us were thinking that we were going to get first. I think a lot of us were going to say we were going to battle it out with Juventus for second. And the fact that we gone and got our points against Juventus, the draw away in Turin, and then to win at home, that kind of sealed the qualifications. But then you look at someone like Viv getting injured against Lyon, it kind of put a dampener on things. And it seems a lot of those games where we had an ACL injury, we ended up losing because our mentality is more thinking towards the player's health at the end of it. And I think, if I'm honest, I would be tempted to turn around and say that needs looking at, because do players feel right that after players are being adjusted to this injury, do they feel right, and are they in the right frame of mind to carry on playing? Because it's causing chaos at the moment. If I remember rightly, it's over 200 now since 2021, something like that. Over 200 players across the top leagues, as well as some at the lower leagues. It's just, but anyway, the Champions League, the fact that we got Bayern, I was really looking forward to that. I was always going to make that trip. I really enjoyed it. Although we didn't get the result, I think I remember talking to Andreas and his friends and saying, I think it's going to be a close game. Even if it's just one goal in it, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity and moment. And it really did play up to be honest, if I was looking at over those ties in the quarterfinal, our one stuck out as probably the most meaningful, because you look at some of the other ones, they're a bit of a, you would have thought Lyon would have gone on and beaten Chelsea. Unfortunately, that ended up going to penalties, Chelsea winning that one. You look at Barcelona playing Roma as well, and as Roma is a good side as they are, they just don't have that pedigree that Barcelona do, and Barcelona just thumped them in the end at the Nou Camp. But it meant more to them to get those sorts of experiences, whereas for us, it was, we needed to make sure that we get over the line, and we did really well. Again, especially whatever happened in the Bayern Munich game, we learned a lot from, because we went into the game against Wolfsburg. We got our first ever away knockout goals in Europe under Jonas Eivelt, and we also managed to not lose in a knockout game away from home in Europe as well in that game. So it meant the world to come back home and to, again, another shootout. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get it done. And unfortunately, Laura got herself injured, which I think probably changed the game a little bit, and everyone kind of wanted it to go to extra time. Just to put it into facts, 20 seconds it was between that Jem Beattie's goal, the kickoff, and the VAR, that Laura went down injured. So it's a bit of an odd one, but at the same time, it needs to be looked at. But if I had to give a score out of this, I would have probably said 9. But I think an 8 is justified. A 9 would have probably been if we could have made it to that final, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
No, it didn't. And yeah, I mean, I would be tempted to give it a 9 just because of how much we exceeded expectations in it, really, and how close we came to making what would have been history, wouldn't it, if we could have got through to that final and whatnot. But yeah, it was such a great run, and so many great performances thrown in there as well. And that was, I mean, I know obviously we're going to come on to the WSL season in a minute, and that's the league games every week that we're watching, and that's the competition that we want to win. And But the Champions League this season, I mean, we played 12 games in the Champions League if you include the qualifier against Ajax. That's a lot of games. When you think we only played 22 league games, we played 12 in the Champions League. So it's a big competition that takes up a lot of the season, and it plays a big part in overall. And you know, it's a shame we couldn't have got a 13th game played tomorrow. But I mean, I think we'd all pretty much sit here. If we were playing in the final tomorrow, I think we'd all be sitting here thinking, you know what, let's just not lose 8-0 with the team that we've got. And, you know, it would have been a shame for that to happen, I suppose. But it was a brilliant competition. It brought so many great things. The crowds at the Emirates for the knockout games in particular were fantastic. The atmosphere of it all, and the way that the girls just rose to the occasion in those big games. And I think we'll all look back on this Champions League campaign, and it could well be a real big turning point in this team, for this team going forward, knowing what we achieved and how well we played against some of the best teams, and to come out of it in the way that we did. Yes, we was all disappointed and frustrated, but as we said before, pride was the overall feeling for me for that whole Champions League campaign from start to finish. You know, from beating Lyon 5-1 to that extra time it was an incredible run, incredible ride, and we really loved it. And hopefully next season we can go one better, maybe two better, and actually win it. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think 8 or 9 out of 10 would be fair enough for the Champions League this season. Brilliant run it was, and some great memories. And of course, the final competition is the main one. Of course, the one we played the most games in, and maybe not quite as didn't quite go as well as we hoped. But there's a lot of reasons as to why that was. But it still wasn't too bad, was it? So we did what we had to do in the end, get third place, which didn't look particularly likely at one point, did it? You know, we were trailing Man City, and it, you know, with all the injuries that we had, we looked like fourth place was going to be where we might end up finishing. So we managed to get third place, which was the most important thing. Yes, I think to try and win the league this season with all the problems that we had with injuries and stuff was always going to be a massive ask, and probably not realistic to happen. You know, we had such a good start, didn't we? We won our first 6 or 7 games, and then the injuries started to happen, and suddenly, you know, I know people might look on it and say, you know, we lost 5 WSL games this season. Last season we lost 1, and you could look at that and think, well, that's, you know, we've got less points this season and what have you. But I think we have to take the context into account as to why you know, the season didn't quite pan out as we hoped it would have done. But again, for most of it, it was a case of certainly in the second half of the season with the injury issues that we had, it was a case of really, again, the pride, wasn't it, of how well we did in so many games, and how difficult it was for us, and we still generally managed to put in these performances and show that what we can be about, this team can be about, with, I say, 1 or 2 additions and some players back fit again. We're going to be a real threat for the title, aren't we, in the future? But I mean, I suppose it was a mixed season in the WSL, if we're honest. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Some great moments, some great performances, but also some disappointments, some terrible injuries. And ultimately, I say we managed to get the minimum requirement, which was top. We had to get in the Champions League, didn't we? After that, we just spoke about how brilliant we played this year. It would have been a disaster not to have been in it next season, wouldn't it? So that was so important. I think the win over Man City was probably the most crucial one in the end, wasn't it? That beating them proved to be the difference in the end, didn't it? Got us there ahead of Man City. So that was such a big game, a big goal from Katie to win that one. But there was some great moments as well. Obviously, the picture I had there beating Tottenham 4-0 at the Emirates was great, wasn't it? In front of that big crowd, record crowd at the time, and a lot of great performances early in the season, and even later on. You know, we say the Man City game was a brilliant performance. Some of those away performances at the end, Brighton, when we just ripped them apart in that game against Brighton in the first half, and you know, a lot of great performances, and yeah, just ultimately in the end, not quite. We wasn't quite there to be able to take that title down to the last game. Would have been nice. I mean, Andreas, what would you rate in the season overall for the WSL? Because it was a bit of a mixed bag, if we're honest, wasn't it, overall in the end?
It was a very, very difficult season for us, and we all know the reasons. In the end, I think we must be happy with what we reached. We secured the third place. This was the goal that we could achieve, and I remember that in March I started saying we are no longer in the title race. We are competing for the third place, and this this was what came out in the end. And I'm sure if the season would have been 2 or 3 weeks longer, then we wouldn't finish third, because the team is at an end now, and I think Leah's injury was the one injury too much. We coped with everything, and the team stepped up, players stepped up, and found new roles and everything. But this injury, this was the one too much, and it was only bringing it over the line, the third place. And yeah, when you look back of about the whole season, we started so well. We won all the first matches, but once again, everything was against us in this season. If we had played our first match away at City, in a moment of the season when City was not ready with all their key players that had left, new players in, they were not really a team at this moment. I'm sure we would have won the first match away at the Academy Stadium, but it was postponed. And later, when we had to play there, City had a good run, and we had a bad match. We lost there. So as Frida said in her contract extension video, the whole world was against us. This was the feeling you could have in this season. It started with the 2 late goals from United at the Emirates when we lost at home, and then as I said, many injury crisis. But if we had not have so many injuries, maybe some players wouldn't have stepped up the way they did. When you see how Frida developed in this season, how Victoria came in and became a key player in a few weeks. Other players who stepped up. It was a fantastic development from the team, and they grew together like a family. This is one word they often said when they spoke about the situation. It was just like a family, and this made the success only possible, because it became worse and worse in the second half with the injuries we had, and then Leah Williamson, then Laura, Wally, and now in the final match, as it is not enough, Stina fractured her wrist. It's unbelievable what happened. So with all this against us, I think we did what was possible, and the third place is it was necessary to reach the Champions League, because it would be more difficult to get the right players in the transfer window, and the team will remember this season as stepping up and growing together. The team, the coaching staff, everybody, the relationship, the fans team was growing this season, and it's difficult to give points for this season. Can I give 7 points? It's a bit emotional in these 7 points, because normally before the start of the season we said third place with no chance to be champions in the last 2 matches, or this was not a good season. But with all the circumstances, this was a good season. It was a good performance from the whole team. So let's say 7, and we've got what was possible.
Yeah, I do think that sometimes, I know football and sport is a results business, of course it is, and in results and stuff is what matters, and we all know that. But sometimes I do think you have to look at the context of outside of just the results. And I agree, in a normal season, if we'd finished third with 49 points, 5 defeats, we would look on that and say that's really disappointing in the season. And I think we'd be looking at giving it a 3 out of 10 or a 4, maybe a 5 at the most, because we got the top 3. But I think in the circumstances, it's difficult to feel like that about it, because yes, it's disappointing. Of course it is. We want to win the league and we want to be challenging a bit better than we did, but we have to take into account the team, the players that we had out for such a long time, and no one could have coped with that really. And we did as best as we could do in the circumstances. And yes, third place wasn't where we thought we'd finish at the start of the season. Of course it wasn't. We expected to be first or second, didn't we? I'm sure we all did. Hopefully first is what we hoped for. But yeah, I think in the circumstances we have to be we have to look at the context of it all and say, you know what, we are in the circumstances, we have done the best we could possibly have done. And you can't ask for more than that. You can't ask for more than what we gave for the season. And I think, I think 7's probably a good score actually overall, you know, just for the effort that they put in alone deserved that, doesn't it? If not always the results that we wanted in some games. But I mean, Matt, it was, wasn't it? It was a tough season, wasn't it? In the league in particular for us this season, really, really tough. And you know, we did ultimately manage to get that prize of the top 3, which was so important.
We did, but it came at a huge cost. I remember it was either Amar or Andreas actually saying, "What is going to be the cost of our season?" And unfortunately, with all these ACLs, it was the cost of a title challenge. To be fair to the team, at least it was a title challenge right towards the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, had we have beaten Chelsea, then we could have had it's a minor issue that it could have happened, but we could have won the league even with a small probability of it happening. But to be still able to do that with most of your players or key players out with ACLs and other or season-ending injuries is still huge preparations. I was just double checking the last time I went to a game and none of the players got injured. It was the game against Bayern Munich. So it tells you, and just in the WSL, the last time that in the WSL was the game against Man City. So it just goes to show you really that the schedule might play a little bit into hands. Things might have happened a little bit differently. If I'm honest, I look at some of the defeats, even the draw against Chelsea. We should have won that game quite easily at the Emirates. You could probably say it should have been. We should have at least been 2 or 3 ahead. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that second goal. Steph Catley hitting the crossbar. I think from a free kick or a cross at the time, and the ball would not go into the back of the net, and it just didn't fall our way in the end. The game against Manchester United, I was really hoping that we were going to, when we went 3-1 up, I thought we were going to, all we need to do is score one more and that's it, kill the game off. And unfortunately, we did not 3-1.
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. We should have had, if we scored the third, that would have killed the game off a little bit more. The game against, even when I was at the Man United game earlier this season, they didn't really do anything. It just felt like the game has gone and nothing really matters. And it was almost like watching the Munich game where, because a player's been injured, nothing really matters. And United just scored a goal, and that was that. Just this season has been so bizarre. Had we had a full strength squad, would we have seen a title challenge, and perhaps would we have gone further in some of the competitions? Perhaps not, but we don't know for certain. Just looking back on the campaign, I'm just disappointed that essentially there is, just to go into the table now, we finished on 47 points and United on 56. So you're talking about 9-point gap there. More than 9, because Chelsea finished on 58. So there's 11-point gap. So there's nearly 10-point gap there between the top 2 and where we finished in the end. And we finished just a bit better on goal difference. So we need to make sure next season, whatever the plan is, whether it's we're going to challenge for the title, we need to make sure that we're winning the games against Manchester United. We need to make sure we're getting points off Chelsea. We can't go to Kings Meadow. For example, if we do end up playing at Kings Meadow opening day of the season, we need to make sure that we go and get those 3 points. We can't just, because Kings Meadow is a fortress for Chelsea. They seem to think they're so comfortable there. They look so uncomfortable at Stamford Bridge at the moment. You've seen it in the Champions League, the way they just sort of drifted off against Lyon and Barcelona, compared to how they play at Kings Meadow. So it's just a case of making sure that we can make things count when it really counts. And not to take things away, there's been some great stadiums we've gone to. We've gone to obviously the Emirates. We've had we've been to Villa Park again. There's been some huge steps in the right directions to playing big stadiums, as similar as always. Leicester always playing at home in their stadium. Reading, who eventually went down, playing in their home stadium. So hopefully we see a few more teams looking towards that. Obviously, Bristol are going to be playing at Ashton Gate next season, which is going to be great to see. I would like to see a few more of these teams playing in their home stadium. I think when we play those 6 home games, I have a feeling that Villa might be one of those, but it'll be very much a wait and see at this moment in time. If I'm honest, if I had to give a rating, I think I'm gonna have to give it a 7, because we qualified, but the expectations kind of went lower as the season went on. We were expecting the title challenge sort of fell away, and it felt really it just felt like we had to adjust our expectations to the issues that were surrounding the squad at the time.
Yeah, we did, and I think Andreas was right what he said before about, I still hope we could win the league, and I still believed it was possible, but realistically, it wasn't really, was it? In that second part of the season, it was just a matter of trying to make sure that as a minimum we finished in the top 3, and luckily and fortunately to a certain degree, but we deserved to do it, and we did, and that was the main thing to come out of it. The disappointment for me was the games that we lost against the big teams. We lost twice to Man United, we lost to Manchester City, we lost to Chelsea. And these are the teams where if you're going to win the league, you have to win some of them games. And we lost too many of them, didn't we, in the end? And yes, there were reasons why. The Man United game away, would we have lost that without Leah's injury so early? We don't know. That is a key factor in that game, wasn't it? So, the Man United home game was poor, wasn't it? We didn't play particularly well anyway, and then conceding those late goals. And yeah, the West Ham away game, the 0-0 when we should have won. We had all them chances and we couldn't score, and that was 2 points dropped. And yeah, there was some games were our own fault. We dropped points we shouldn't have done. I think we know that. Other games we were really unfortunate not to win, and there were other games where we won and we expected to win. So yeah, it is difficult to really give it a score, because if you look at, as I said, you look on paper, it looks a disappointing season. But yeah, I think 7 is probably a good score to give the WSL season, if we're honest. Terry says there, spot on, Andreas, don't be down, the girls have give it their all, and we don't like seeing you sad. No, we're not sad, we're just disappointed a little bit that with everything that happened. LG says I'd give the league a 6 out of 10, mainly because of those late goals conceded against the same suspects in Kerr and Russo, and also for a very disappointing summer transfer window when we only signed Herta. Yeah, that was a disappointment, and I think that as the season progressed, that became more and more evident when the injuries that we got, the lack of activity last summer. We got Kayla Marquise as well, the goalkeeper, but yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't, and Gio, but it wasn't a great summer window. Jafar says, in my opinion, I think we need to have at least a phase 2 team that can play in the earlier stage of the cup games. You saw this season players got injured due to the busy schedule of games. Yeah, and also as well, a lot of players had to play more minutes than they would ordinarily have had to have done, because the squad was so decimated anyway. So we do need a bigger squad. Yeah, of course we do. And I think next season we'll have a bigger squad, and hopefully that'll be that. Terry says, when Leah went down against Man U, I think everyone's heart just sank. Yeah, when we saw what that injury looked like at the time, it did look like it was an ACL, didn't it? Unfortunately, when we saw it in the replays and stuff. And yeah, I think that was the moment for me where we realised that the title was over. And in fact, probably the season was over in many ways. It felt like, didn't it? But we rallied around. We got, we played so well in the semi-final without Leah, and went so close. And yeah, but that was a really bad moment, wasn't it? And I think that was the moment where we all started to think that, you know what, this season we've been cursed in some way, haven't we? It has been ridiculous, but hopefully it's all out of the way now. All our ACLs ever have all come in one season. We won't get any more ever again. And next season we'll have fit players throughout the season. We can have a strong squad and we can go on and show everybody exactly what this team's capable of, because we wasn't able to do it in the WSL this season. Yeah, 5 defeats is too many and it's disappointing, but we know some of those wouldn't have happened ordinarily. We know that, so we can accept it this season. But yeah, if we lose 5 games next season in the WSL, I think we'll have to have words. We'll be having words with Jonas if we lose 5 next season as well. But yeah, so that was our sort of look back on all the different competitions. You know, overall, it's been a good season. Let's just give the season as a whole then a mark out of 10 overall for everything. Andreas, what would you say for the season as a whole?
Season as a whole. Well, I would stick to 7 because we won a trophy. We had a fantastic run in Champions League, but, a poor FA Cup and some disappointment in the league for reasons we know. So just for the performance, the resilience, and the will the team showed, I'll give overall a 7.
No, I mean, a 7's a fair enough score, I think, overall. Matt, what would you say for the season as a whole? Obviously, there were some great moments as well and some unlucky disappointments.
I'm trying to work it out as an average. So I think it works out as just over a 7 from my scores. So yeah, 7. Just unfortunately, you could probably lock it down to a little bit of a low 7 because of the injuries that we picked up. But it just means that we've got more to improve on, and the lessons are going to be learned for this summer. A lot of the stuff that we've heard, I'm sure a lot of us have about the transfers and things like that, we're looking to do a little bit more early, especially as there's a World Cup as well. So that's good news. Yeah.
LG says there 4 losses out of 6 against the Big 4 reminds me of peak Montemuro's reign of terror. I mean, that's one way of putting it. I mean, I say some of those defeats, they're not great results looking at them on paper, are they? I mean, I think overall as a season, we've won a trophy. We far exceeded our expectations in the Champions League, and we coped as admirably with all the injuries that we had, and we got the top 3. So it's not been a disappointing season. It's not been as good a season in many ways as we hope. But I think any season where you win a trophy, you've got to be happy with. And I would maybe almost be tempted to go an 8 just because we won a trophy. And I do think that's really important. And everything else that happened in the season, the Champions League semi-final. So maybe a high 7 or a low 8, maybe somewhere around that would probably be what I'll be thinking for the season overall. Obviously, we need improvements. Jeffar says we can't have our best players play in the early stage of the Conti Cup. That's why I'm insisting that Jonas needs to have a good bunch of players we can bring competition to our starting. Yeah, but you see, the Continental Cup, the earliest days that we'll play in it, potentially is going to be the quarterfinal again. So we only have 3 games in it. So let's just go for that again. Try and win that. Win it every year. Why not? It'd be fun. But yeah, we do need more squad players. Absolutely. We've got a comment there from a kiddie in the chat there from Patongo. I don't know where Patongo is, but anyway, it sounds like it's a great place. I have any trophies lifted by Arsenal? We've won this season, and in history, we've won 14 FA Cups, is it 15 league titles, 10, 11 Continental Cups. So we've won a lot of trophies, and one Champions League, of course, which Chelsea are never going to get their hands on, which is what we need. Terry says overall season 7.5 out of 10, but 10. 7.5 out of 10 for the goals. Yeah, I'd say that's probably fair enough about that. Yeah. Herman says, hello, gentlemen, just returned via Toronto. Impossible traffic chaos. Oh, good that you've made it. Traffic's everywhere on a Friday, unfortunately. Terry says, good to have you in the chat, Herman. At least you made it back in time. Indeed, yeah. And he got here before Amar as well, so that's a bonus, isn't it? Which is unusual. And Herman says, how many players are you allowed to have in the squad? I'm assuming the Wimbledon Sounds a minute, it's 25, isn't it? A maximum you can have in your squad. And then it's just, some of them will be academy players and whatnot. But yeah, we definitely need more depth, more quality in depth next season. There's no doubt about that. And if we do, who knows what we'll be winning next season, because I'm feeling optimistic that we could do pretty well. Right, what we want to do then, before we finish, we need to go through our end of season awards, good and bad. There's not too many bad ones, because I don't want to put too many bad ones in, because we don't deserve too many bad ones, do we? But let's start. We'll get a couple of the bad ones out of the way first, so we can concentrate on the good awards. Let's start with this one, and I think it's pretty much it's going to be an overwhelming vote. I think. For me, the worst performance of the season was the last game. We looked completely like dead on our feet. It's the only game where pretty much all we had other games this season where we played poorly, maybe for one half, say Man City away, for example, Man United in the first half at home, but over 90 minutes, we generally didn't play badly for a whole 90 minutes, did we, all season? We always seem to have a good half and a bad half in our bad games, and obviously good 90 minutes in other games. So for me, the Villa game was the one where we didn't really play at all from first to last, did we? We just had nothing left to give, and it didn't matter in the end too much, I suppose. But I thought that was our worst performance. There wasn't too many bad ones to look back on, really, but that was probably the standout one for me. I mean, Andreas, what would you say was our worst performance of the season?
Yeah, I wouldn't rate the Villa match too high, because as I said, the Wally injury was one injury too much, and we couldn't cope with this, and we had to sub our only striker in this Villa match at halftime. So and the special situation that everybody knew, if we lose, it's not a real problem if we don't concede too many goals, or if we don't hear from City that they are burning fireworks in their match. So yeah, it was not a good performance, but the worst performance maybe the 2-1 loss at City, especially the first half was very poor, and it was a match that was very important, more important than the last match against Villa, and winning away at City would have kept us in the title race. But the performance from most of the players, especially in the first half, there was very weak and very bad. So this would be the worst performance for me. And of course, I have on my notes the draw at West Ham. We had a good match. We had a lot of chances, but we didn't score. And not scoring is not sufficient for a team that wants to win the league. So these two matches I have on my notes.
Yeah, I mean, the West Ham result was really disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, the performance was good overall. We could have won that game 5-0, and we'd have been like looking back, I think what a great win that was. But yeah, because we didn't win that game. I mean, yeah, the Man City game, the first half was our worst 45 minutes of the season by a mile. The way at Man City was terrible. But the second half, we rallied, we got a goal back. We could have maybe sneaked a draw in the end. We played better in the second half. So I don't know. I felt overall the 90 minutes against Villa, I know there's lots of reasons for that, was probably a word for one. But yeah, the Man City one was a big loss, wasn't it, at the time as well? They're the games you can't afford to lose too many of them, and we did, as we said before. I mean, Matt, what would be your worst performance of the season? Not too many to choose from, luckily.
I can see what you mean with the Villa game, but ultimately we had more shots on target, I think, in that game, and we actually did all right. It was just unfortunate that where we couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. I still have a feeling that, if I'm honest, that first goal from Rachel Daly shouldn't have stood, because of actually, I can't remember who was on the goalkeeper. I think it might have been Hansen. Hansen actually made sure that Sabrina dropped the ball, so it should have been a foul in the build-up.
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. It did look a bit suspect, yeah.
And that second goal was it was really poor defending. I can't even remember who was supposed to be marking Alicia Lehman, but she nutmegged both Haffer and Sabrina for the goal. It was just really poor defending, and it just felt really poor. But if I'm honest, I think if I look, I can forgive the game against Lyon, obviously, because of the ACL injury. You can kind of forgive the Man United game where we lost 1-0 because of the injury again. But I just saw that, and we didn't even have a shot on target, I don't even think. And that kind of worried me. was the fact that if you go into a game and you've got that quality of a Katie, oh no, Katie wasn't available because she got that yellow card against City again, which was a bit stupid because Chloe Kelly got in the way of her throw. Again, I've been climbing up this hill every time that the referees need sorting out. They're sorting out it up to the championship, but not unfortunately up to WSL. But it's just again, refereeing needs sorting out. Get them professional, so then these sorts of things can be changed. If I'm honest, the worst position, I'm gonna have to say the Man United game. The fact that we didn't even have a shot on target, it was just an awful game.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game. That is true. LG's gone for Man United at home. Yeah, that was disappointing. We turned it around and we were so close to winning, but yeah, we didn't play particularly well that game either. Actually, you're right. That wasn't a great performance. At the time, it was our worst one. I think maybe after that we had one or two more worse ones than that. Terry says, I think the girls were so disappointed against Villa because Andreas didn't turn up. That might have been the reason. Who knows? But anyway, we've probably picked out all the worst performances here, actually, which is fine. And any one of them could probably win it if we're totally honest. Man U at home was bad. Man U away wasn't great. Villa at home was poor. Man City away wasn't great. So, we don't want to dwell too much on the worst performance, do we? Because there wasn't too many of them. Another one maybe that I think, again, I mean, it can probably be any of the injuries, but this is certainly a key moment in the. So I think the worst moment was probably all of the injuries when they happened. Really, they were all really bad moments. It's difficult to single out one above the other because they were all so devastating and so it had such a big impact on the season. But for me, the Beth Mead one. The Beth Mead injury at the time, she was the best player in the world. I don't have any doubt about that. You know, what she had done at the Euros, what she was doing for us, and to lose her at that time, was, I think, that was only the first one as well at the time. We didn't realise what was coming when she got her ACL injury. But at the time, because she was playing so well and she was in such great form, that to me was so devastating for her, and with the World Cup as well coming along. And I don't know, that to me was probably my worst moment of the season when we heard it was an ACL. We feared it might have been at the time when we saw it, but when we heard that Beth had got an ACL, that to me was probably the worst moment of many, many bad moments of injuries and stuff. It could have been any of them, couldn't it, really? I mean, Andreas, would it be the injuries maybe as a whole that were the worst moment of the season? Yeah, it probably was, wasn't it, really? Let's be honest.
Yeah, of course, the injury crisis. And I think for me it was Viv's injury because, Beth got injured and you said, okay, we lost one of our best players for the rest of the season, but let's go on. And a few weeks later, we lost a second key player. And this killed the Lyon match. I think the match was over at halftime. That we lost only 1-0. Well, nobody cared. And I remember watching the match, and in second half, I only thought, let's have the final whistle. Let's have this game over. It was a feeling like season is over with now the second key player out. Of course, we didn't know what was coming, that the worst was yet to come. But this moment, this destroyed so much, because knowing two key players out for the rest of the season, and how can we go on without them? How should we continue in 4 competitions without our 2 best strikers? So this moment destroyed a lot for me. And I have this Viv's injury against Lyon. I remember when the DVD made this halftime interview, and after that she asked her coach to sub her because she's not able to concentrate on playing football. This says it all.
Yeah, I mean, because that injury happened in the middle of the game as well, it makes it worse, doesn't it? I mean, the Beth one was right at the end of the game, wasn't it? So it didn't have the impact on that particular game. We were already losing. It was in stoppage time and stuff like that. And yeah, the Viv injury, obviously had a massive impact on that game. And like you said, yeah, maybe losing the second player so close to losing the first one, maybe that was a bigger. Maybe you're right. Maybe that was a bigger impact overall. Losing two so close together, yeah, potentially that was, and that was terrible. That you knew when she went down it was bad, because Viv being Viv, she doesn't go down like that, does she? Unless it was bad. So we knew it was bad, and yeah. That was a really, really bad one as well. Yeah, they all were really, but yeah. I mean, Matt, I know we had so many injuries to choose from. Really, I mean, what was your kind of worst moment of the season? It's got to be injury related, I would assume.
Well, you've all gone down the injury route. I've actually gone for something else. But before I do, I just remember that the lady that's on the wall. Sorry, I've gone that way, wrong way. Yeah, just over my shoulder. When she goes down, and you can hear her scream. That entire of Wharton Hall Park had gone quiet, and no one said anything. No, we wanted to chant. We didn't know whether or not to chant. We didn't know what to do. Everyone was sort of stunned into this sort of silence, and it just seemed to go on forever and ever. And it was really bad because you kind of want to do something, but you don't know what to do. So you just stood there in silence, just staring and watching. And it was a really horrible moment to be there. But if it was non-injury related, that last-minute goal against Wolfsburg, the fact that Lotte has tried to do the turn that she usually does, and unfortunately it doesn't come off. The ball's been nicked from her, and ball comes in, and no one's set, and it's a tap in for Wolfsburg, and they go through. And I think what made that goal even worse was the fact that their entire team ran onto the pitch, and no one seemed to be bothered to turn around and say to him, look, you need to get back because of anything. It didn't matter what the Arsenal fans were trying to do or anything. At that moment in time, it just sort of time stood still. So, I think between the injuries and being so close to a final and just missing out on potentially either within the next 10 minutes or so, it's hard, but I think you're both right in some way. There's always some sort of injury that's been the worst up there. But I couldn't say for certain what hurts more, the injuries or the or not being able to make that final.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a real big disappointment, wasn't it, when that goal went in? It was more of it was like the Emirates for a few sort of moments there was sort of stunned into silence, wasn't it, when that goal went in? There was 50 odd Wolfsburg fans over in the far corner that were going mad, but it was silent, wasn't it? Everyone was just shocked that we conceded that goal so late on in the game, and that was a really bad moment, I suppose. But yeah, it is difficult to look past the injuries, unfortunately, due to the fact that, there was so many of them and they had such a big impact on everything, didn't they, in the end? LG, going back to the worst game, says, we didn't play well at home against Zurich, even though we won 3-1. No, we didn't, but we won 3-1, so we don't care, quite honestly. But yeah, we didn't play well that night, you're right. Jeff Ross says, apart from the injuries, I think this season we have been awful in defence. Set pieces has been our nightmare. Manu's a good goalkeeper, but she just isn't good on dealing with set pieces. Wolfsburg, know that of our weakness. Yeah, I mean, I would. Having said that, though, it was our defensive record in the WSL that meant we finished above Man City, because they scored more goals than us, but they conceded more. So maybe our defence was a strength as well to get us into that top three. But yeah, we know the set pieces into the box. We conceded too many goals last season as well from that, didn't we? From crosses into the box, and part of that's Manu not coming out and commanding a 6-yard box. Yeah, 100%. Other times it's just we're just not particularly good at dealing with crosses as a defensive unit, are we? For whatever reason, it needs to be worked on. We need to improve that. And you're right. But having said that, I mean, Wolfsburg were quite vulnerable from crosses into the box. We scored, half of the goals in the semi-final were from set-piece balls into the box, wasn't they? So, that they were just as vulnerable at that as we were. It just turned out that we couldn't quite make the most of as many as they did. LG says Viv out. Very lazy and lackadaisical for this current Arsenal team. We want energy in the team. Yeah, obviously Viv out, it was important. Of course it was. And losing Beth as well. Those two are key, aren't they, to the team? They were key last season, and yeah, that would have to be, not too many low moments, but they would certainly be amongst it, wouldn't we? Now, why don't we instead move on to some more positive things that we've enjoyed this season? Some good awards instead of the bad awards. Why don't we start with this one? Now, luckily, there's quite a few to choose from. Performance of the season, there were so many, wasn't there? I mean, I've put the picture on there of the Lyon game, winning 5-1 away at the Champions League holders was a very, very impressive performance, despite their injuries at the time. So many great performances. Obviously, the Continental Cup final, we've already mentioned it. I mean, what a fantastic performance that was. So many good performances that we could pick from, really. So, Andreas, what would be your performance of the season? Which of those great performances would it be?
Yeah, you mentioned both the Conti Cup final, of course, because it brought us a trophy. But for me, the best performance of the season was the away match at Lyon. We had our full squad, and we showed what is possible with this team if we have all our key players fit. And I mean, you have to go to the current title holders and beat them in their stadium 5-1. This was like an earthquake in European women's football. Nobody would have believed this before. And what a performance this was. It was not that we were lucky or they were unlucky or the referee helped us or something like that. We were these 4 goals better. We deserved this 5-1 win, and this was, I think, the best performance from our team for a very long time. And as I said, we had our full squad, and we could show what is possible with all these key players in and being fit. So this was my personal best performance of the season.
And you can't really argue with that. It was a brilliant performance, wasn't it? And you said with our full strength team, and it does make you. Sometimes I watched through some highlights of that game the other night just to remind me of it. And when you saw the players that we had in that team, and it made you sad in a way that we missed so many of them when it mattered. You know, Leah Williamson, obviously Beth that we've mentioned. You know, Leah Volti, all these great players. Kim Little were in the team, and it's like, wow, what could have been? And that performance maybe showed what could have been and what can be again in the future with this team. So that is, it's difficult to go against that Lyon performance. It was magnificent. I mean, Matt, what one would you go for then out of all of them this season? Because I say there's been a few that we could pick from. Let's be honest, we've been lucky that there has been.
I think the game against Lyon, I think, would be everyone's top one, but for me, that would probably be my third favourite. Second would be the Conti Cup final against Chelsea. The fact that we were 1-0 down after 2 minutes and then coming back. But for me, the fact that Kim Little goes down 34 minutes on the clock, we're still 0-0 against Bayern Munich, and we go and win the game 2-0 and go through, just showed how good we are getting better mentality wise. Unfortunately, it didn't stick towards the end of the season, but meant that we've been at the I believe the word mentality monster has been thrown around a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, and we've shown a little bit more that we are mentally prepared for these sort of situations should they arise in the future. I think this squad's going to be one of the best mentality monsters in the next couple of seasons because of what's happened this season, and that's why it's my top one.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, LG says the performance of the season first half v Bayern. Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue too much with that. That first half against Bayern, we absolutely ripped them to pieces, didn't we? Let's be honest.
No offense,
yeah, that was a great performance. You have to say it was that first half. But, you know, I think as a 90-minute performance, I do think Lyon was a better 90-minute performance. Yeah, 45 minutes the first half against Bayern has to be up there, yeah. But I think as an overall 90 minutes, Jeffar says that Lyon game was my top one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even after the game, the players were very calm, as if it was just a normal game. Even the commentators were amazed by the reaction, amused. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, it was, and as Terry says, their opening game against Lyon, amazing. No one predicted. Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. Nobody predicted that. You know, last season we lost. We conceded 4 in our first game against Barcelona in the Champions League group, didn't we? Against the holders. This year we went away to the holders again, fearing the worst, maybe, and we ended up performing like that. So, yeah, maybe for the fact it was so unpredicted. And, yeah, I thought for 90 minutes that was probably our best performance. But, yeah, the first half in the Conti Cup final, the first half against Bayern, they're all up there, aren't they, with some of the best we've ever seen, let alone this season. So, yeah, we've been very fortunate with some of the games that we've seen. But yeah, I think Lyon probably deserves to win that one, perhaps. And another one that may get 100% votes here as well. I've got a feeling it might. again, lots of great moments in the season, but surely seeing us lift the cup, you can't beat it, can you? That's got to be the moment of the season, surely, Andreas. You can't argue with that, can you?
Yeah, there can't be another moment of the season like winning the cup, the final whistle at Sellers Park, and knowing that we have won and that we have beaten the best team of the country. Yeah, this was fantastic, and yeah, deserved win, being the better team and winning this trophy, what the team so much deserved. And for me, being live there was, this was just perfect, the perfect moment of the season.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and to see, you know, the girls enjoy that moment, winning a trophy with the club, that they fully. You're right. We deserve to win something this season for everything that's gone on, and for them to win that cup was fantastic. And yeah, that was. I would say the only other moment I would say could maybe be up there, wouldn't be first, but would certainly be up there, would be when they announced 60,000 fans at the Emirates at that Wolfsburg game. That was a great moment. Just be in the stadium there, to see that the crowd went up 60,000. It's like, wow. We knew it was a sellout, but just to see that actually on the scoreboard, to say it, I mean, that was a great moment as well. But it has to be the Continental Cup, though, doesn't it, Matt? Lifting that trophy, seeing Leah and Kim lift that must have been the moment of the season, wasn't it?
It is, but then I look at other moments where there's been important interceptions. Rafaeli, Leah Williamson, even Lotta or Steph, they're all making important last-ditch challenges. Or there's I look at the press before Fried Mime scores that first goal. Again, apologies, Andreas, against Bayern Munich. There's all these sorts of moments.
They won the league, but Andreas doesn't care. They've won the league. He's happy. It's fine.
It's just some of these moments. I think they're small things, but they mean a lot. I remember being at that game against Villa at the end of the season, and just even when Jonas took the mic and just gave his speech, for me that was kind of special in its own right, because he was addressing the fans and he's really on board with everything going on and you can tell that now. And it meant the world to be showing off that Conti Cup final, Conti Cup, all around, and going around with it at the end on the lack of appreciation. And I think there's been so many moments in the season, it's hard to pick a specific one, but I think the trophy probably tops it.
Yeah, it has to, doesn't it? I mean, you're right. There has been a lot of moments. I mean, one of the best moments for me of the season was actually after the Tottenham game, when all of us met outside the ground. We were all together. That's probably the first time we'd all met in person together, wasn't it? So that was quite a good moment as well for the season. I know it wasn't, it didn't impact the team particularly. It was just for us personally. I thought that was a great moment. So that was nice. But yeah, it has to be lifting a cup. Seeing us lift the trophy's got to be great. And seeing what it meant to the girls as well with the celebrations and whatnot afterwards, it was brilliant, wasn't it? So yeah, that is easily the moment of the season. So we enjoyed that. Now this one here there could be a few contenders for this one. Maybe we'll see what you guys. We could probably do a top 10 goals of the season, couldn't we, this season, actually, because there's been so many great goals that we've seen. We've scored some amazing goals this season. Absolutely brilliant. But we've got to pick one, because that's the trophies for one goal of the season. For me, I'll put in the picture there, Frida Marnham's goal against Bayern Munich. That was an incredible strike. I mean, I don't think I've seen anyone hit a ball that cleanly into the top corner of a goal for a long time. It was an incredible goal, but so many. Katie's against Man City, so important as well. That was, what a great goal. It's just been, I say we could do a top 10 of great goals, couldn't we? To be honest, but I'm going to go for Frida Marnham against Bayern Munich. But Andreas, what one would get your vote for the goal of the season?
Yeah, I had three to choose from. The one was Laura's against United. This was a fantastic goal, and this would have deserved to be the winning goal of the match, but unfortunately we know how it ended. Then, of course, Katie's winning goal against City was fantastic, and I was at Meadow Park and saw this unbelievable, but the goal of the season is Frida's 1-0 against Bayern. I watched it on TV, and I saw when you saw the ball going out from her feet, you saw, and this is going in, it's going in, And it was fantastic, and it was the goal that changed the situation in this second leg. Frida's is my goal of the season.
Yeah, I think it was the best goal personally. I just thought it was such a great, it was a nice little move as well, and it was just such a clean hit, wasn't it? You couldn't have hit it any better. I mean, no goal in the world saving that. I don't care what goal you stick in that goal. No one saved it. No one ever would save that. It was just brilliant. I mean, Matt, what's your goal of the season? Again, so many to pick from, but we're lucky to have that choice.
You know what? I was thinking about this, and I think there's even some that they've missed off on the club's website where they picked a top 10, and some of them haven't even been selected. Steph Catley's goal against Leicester, where the ball just goes into the back of the net from corner. You've got Leah Volti's strike, her first WSL goal.
Well, we knew you'd vote for that one.
Since West Ham. So it's so hard to choose. I'm trying to think of games where we've had some great goals, but I think the one that means the most is the one that has basically won us Champions League qualification for next season. That's Katie McCabe.
Yeah, I mean, when obviously at the time we didn't realise how important that goal was going to prove to be. We knew it was a big goal beating Man City, but as it turned out, that was a goal that got us Champions League. So yeah, it was a great goal, and it obviously was significant for the future as well. So yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with that. That was an amazing goal. To be fair, Frida Marnon probably had a goal of the season competition on her own, didn't she? Some of the goals that she scored, you know, the one against Aston Villa in the Continental Cup, and there was, well, I mean, the whole list of ones she got recently. Was it Leicester, wasn't it, when she got that one curled into the top corner against Leicester? And there were so many that she scored on her own. She can have her own little competition herself. LG says they're top two for me: Frida v Bayern and Frida versus Leicester. There you go, yeah. Both against Bayern goalkeepers. You know when it was? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they were two great goals against Bayern goalkeepers. But Jeffar says there, my favourite is Frida Marnon versus Bayern Munich. That one touch back flip by Leah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that goal was just so Wenger-esque type of football. Well, it was. Yeah, it was a great goal and a great finish. Of course, Terry's gone for Super Jen's header against Walsall. Well, why not? You know, she
that was a good moment as well. When
it was a great. It was. Yeah, it was a good moment. It was a great goal. Yeah. That was one of the moments of the season, actually, wasn't it? Because it looked like we were going out 2-1, and then suddenly Jen pops up from nowhere with that header and
accidentally collides with Pop.
Yeah, the celebration was good. Yeah, knocking Pop over, that was hilarious. So yeah, that was one of the moments of the season. Just Jen Beattie whacking her over. That was brilliant. So well done, Jen, for that. You deserve a lot of credit for that. Talking of Jen Beattie, actually, let's go on to the next award, because I do feel Jen Beattie should get an award. So I'm going to give her this one. So unsung hero of the season, I just feel Jen Beattie stepped in when she wasn't maybe expected to play the sort of games that she played, and what a magnificent set of performances she gave us as well in those final games, the semi-final, the two legs of the semi-final in particular, the goal, as we mentioned, just her performance in those two games in particular, but just when she had to step up with the injuries that we had, she had to step in and do a job that she wouldn't have been expecting to have to play those many games, those important games as well. And what a magnificent job that she did. And, you know, I think at the start of the season, we were all saying, well, you know, no disrespect to Jen. She's had a great career for us, but we were maybe thinking, let's hope she hasn't got to play too many games because, you know we've got better defenders. And that was kind of a worry. But the fact is she came in when she had to, and she was brilliant, really, really brilliant. And I think she deserves a lot of credit for that. So I'm going to give her the unsung hero or heroine of the season award, because I just think she deserved it for the way she stepped up at the end of the season in difficult circumstances and was brilliant. And yeah, for that goal as well. And I know Terry would vote for her for every award, but we're going to give her that one. I'm going to give her that one. I mean, Andreas, who would you say was maybe our unsung hero of the season? Because there's been one or two of them as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, I have a few names on my notes. It's players who are not in the spotlight so every week, or are not so much get the credits from spectators or everyone. So you could talk about Lotta, who stepped up when it was needed, and of course she made this mistake against Wolfsburg, but she had so many great matches. You could talk about Caitlin, who had a great season, or Steph Catley, who is doing a very, very good job. Her set pieces, her corners, and I think she doesn't get enough credit for her performance. Yeah, Laura for the first half of the season, and of course Jen. Yeah, but my top name in this ranking is Noelle. She was second choice in the first half of the season. She wanted to go away in January transfer window because she had not enough minutes, and she saw problems for the World Cup squads, etc. And then she improved. She stepped up, and what a second half of the season she had. And she's the unsung hero because nobody seems to realize that she's one of the 11 players on the pitch. If you after a match, if you say who was the best player, you can name 4, 5, 6 names, but nobody will mention Noelle. And she had a really great second half of the season, and so this award for me goes to Noelle Maritz.
And that's a very good shout, actually, because you're right. She doesn't tend to get a lot of notice, a lot of credit for what she does. She just gets on with her job. And yeah, you're right. She did have to step in the second half. She played a lot more games in the second half of the season than I think we expected her to, because Laura had been so great in the first half of the season. And then, yeah, she was, again, she stepped in when she had to and was brilliant. You're right, in those big games. So yeah, she does deserve a lot of credit, actually, Noelle Maritz. And yeah, she's definitely a worthy person to have be named in this category. Jeff, I was going there. My unsung hero is Katie McCabe. She stepped up as captain and gave everything on the pitch, especially that Champions League performance against Wolfsburg. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Katie McCabe's sort of unsung though, is she? Because I think everybody loves Katie McCabe, and I don't know if she's great, and she stepped up when she had to be captain and all that kind of stuff. I agree with you 100%. But is she really unsung? Probably not really unsung. She's just magnificent. Everyone loves her. I mean, Matt, then who would be your unsung hero? Then we've got Noelle Maritz and Jen Beattie, and we've had a vote for Katie McCabe as well.
It's hard. I think I kind of have to mention the fact that Sabrina came in January, and we didn't know what we were expecting with her, and to come in and just prove that she is almost there to battle Manu. She wasn't like Kayla Marquise is at the moment. She's not there just to sit on the sidelines, watch, learn. She was ready and waiting from minute one that she came in. The game against, I believe it was Leeds, she came in and she was just phenomenal. Unfortunately, had she been for all season, I would have probably given her the award. But I think Andreas has stolen my choice. But I don't think there was anyone else that could have gone with this, because Noelle is that player. I always call her the Nacho Monreal, the misconsistent of the team of the team. She'll always give you those 7 out of 8 each week, and she doesn't really have that many weaknesses, and she'll always make sure that she's doing a good job. And yes, Jen's done a good job as well. She's actually taken up. I'd even say, just to add on JS as well, Steph Catley has done fantastic at one point playing centre back when she's a left back, and she's not really used to that. And having Lotta there towards the start of the season, I think she deserves that kind of credit as well, because it's hard to be at that sort of age in sort of your early ages of football, having to relearn from a new position, and she just did so well with it. And if we do need a left-sided centre back next season, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Steph Catley there a little bit more.
Yeah, she certainly stepped up in different positions at times, didn't she? She played sort of more higher up the pitch as well in different games, and yeah, Steph Catley is a fantastic player. There's no doubt about that. Terry said he's going to be biased, but it's Super. Well, you vote for Super Jen every single award, Terry. Come on, we need to spread them around the team a little bit more. You can't give her every single one. I know that you want to. But he says Super Jen's a game changer. Well, she was a game changer in 1 or 2 games. But yeah, I mean, there are a few unsung hero or heroines in our team, isn't there? So that's great as well. And we've given them some credit, but I think Terry wants Jen to win it, so maybe we should let Jen win it just because keep Terry happy for the summer. Right, okay. There's 2 more to go. There are 2 of the big awards, and Could be that. I think again, there's probably going to be a few choices for both of them. We'll start with this one, and we'll save the biggest one till last. So this is the penultimate award for the season. What would we think about this one? So most improved player, I have gone, as you can see from the picture there, for Frida Marnham. I think the way that she's, from last season when she was a bit hit and miss at times, a little bit unsure where she fitted into the team, for her to step up this season and produce the season that she's had has been incredible. I mean, the goals that she scored, as we've mentioned, her performances, playing in that number 10 position, having to step in and replace Viv for most of the season in that position, and she's done so well. And later on in the season, when she had to drop a bit deeper and play in a more defensive role, we've seen her do that as well. So, yeah, I think the improvements that she's made, the step up that she's made from last season has been incredible. And, a lot of players have improved this season, we've seen. But for me, it's difficult to look beyond Frida Marnham for most improved. But we'll see. Andreas, who would you say has been the most improved?
Yeah, it's a bit unfair against the other girls. But, for me, too, Frida wins both of the two awards that are open now. It's fantastic how she stepped up, how she developed this season. And she said it by herself when she first joined Arsenal. She had a lot of minutes in the first matches in the first season, and then she was out and didn't play for many weeks. And then this match in Lyon, where she could play at the number 10 role, this was the season changer for her. And she herself realized that she could fit in this number 10 position. And yeah, it was fantastic the whole season how she performed. And with all these injuries coming, she took more responsibility in midfield. She was the key player in central midfield. She was our best goal scorer. I don't know, did she score more goals than Stina? Or fantastic. And she gave assists, and the goals she scored from outside the box, important goals, fantastic. It's not possible to overlook her. So of course she's the most improved player. In the second half of the season, you could say Stina developed and stepped up, and of course Noelle. But my award goes to Frida. Not only this award, the next to come.
I think Frida is the obvious choice for most improved. Definitely, the way she steps up from, say, the second half of last season when she was out of the team a lot, and I say we wondered where she was going to fit in, didn't we? Really, we were sitting there thinking, what's her best position? Where's she going to play? And she found her best position this season, and she has been brilliant. I mean, some of them goals, as we said, just incredible. LG says Palova. I mean, Palova's a difficult one because she only joined us in January, so it's difficult to say she's most improved. She's been a great signing and she's done great, but she's only just joined us. So she hasn't got anywhere to improve from with us because we haven't seen her before play for us. So maybe next season she might be with a shout at that one, depending on how the season goes. Terry says, Richard, I think you need to have a word with Matt and Andreas. They only didn't pick Super Gem because it's me. That's not the reason. We all love Jen. Terry says, what a fantastic first signing of the new season coming. We'll wait and see about that one. LG says Frida is a natural number 10. Last season she was miscast as a 6. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. We didn't really get her full potential last season, and she's played a little bit of 6, hasn't she, in the last few games with Leah Walty out. She's had to play a bit deeper, and she showed that she can play there. But yeah, obviously she's better off in that more advanced position. We've seen that. And yeah, brilliant. So Matt, then who would get your most improved player of the year? Is it going to be a full house for the fantastic Frida?
As much as she has improved, just for me, it just shows you that she's still got more to go. And I'm looking at some of our players at the moment, the likes of Gio and Katrina Kuhl, who have sort of not had the greatest 6 months, if we're honest. As this is the sort of thing that could happen. We need you to make sure that you step up in the next. I'm still not sure what kind of player Katrina Kuhl is supposed to be because she keeps on playing on the right hand side. She's not a winger. She's a central midfielder. That's I don't know if she's another attacking midfielder or if she plays in the centre mid where she's going to be taking on the Kim Little role in the future. I generally do not know. And I just on Frida, if say next season, we don't have that midfield of Kim and Leah, say injury, suspensions, whatever. Touch wood that it doesn't happen, and I am touching wood, ladies and gentlemen. It's just so difficult to tell. But this season, most improved for me would have to go to someone. Again, I've mentioned Steph. I think, but for me, Laura Weinroy to carrying on her form from the Euros, where she wasn't letting anyone past her, and if she was going to go and catch her, and it was just, I think it hurt a little bit more the fact that she came on in that semi-final. We go and score that goal from Jen, and then, like I said earlier, 20 seconds later, she's on the floor with an ACL injury. It just hurts a little bit more because potentially we would have had more options, especially defensively in these sorts of games further on down the line. So for me, I think Laura deserves the most improved.
I mean, I agree. I think the first half of the season in particular, she really, really stepped up, didn't she? And then, she wasn't picked as regular in the second half. And then, of course, she got the injury. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely improved massively on last season. 100% she has. She's had a great season. Terry says, I think Frida was our first. Oh, you mean because of her new contract? Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, I suppose she's our first signing of the season, although she's already here, of course. And but yeah, I mean, there was a few players I thought improved this season from last season. Yeah, definitely. But for me, Frida improved the most just because of her goal impact as much as anything else. So she's going to win that one. Now, we've got one more left, and I don't think it will come as a surprise to too many people who I might vote for in this one. Yeah, she could have been most improved. She could have been underrated player, whatever it might be. She could have won lots of awards. But for me personally, I think that as the season's gone on, she's become more and more important to the way we were playing. The injuries meant she played more games than she may have done ordinarily. But the way that she stepped up in all those big games, she scored in the last 3 Champions League games. She scored against Bayern in the second leg, both legs against Wolfsburg in the semi-final. She scored in the Continental Cup final, such an important goal, the equaliser. She scored the winner in the semi-final with the Continental Cup. Big games, she got big goals, and she finished top scorer in all competitions, 18 goals across the season. And I just think she's so important for us. We said it against Wolfsburg. She went off because she was injured, and we never looked the same team after she went off. She went off at half-time against Aston Villa in the last game. We never looked like we were going to ever score in that second half without her on the pitch. And I just think she's proved to be so important without Viv in the team, without Beth in the team. She struggled a bit in the first half of the season. We can't deny that. She struggled at times. She missed some chances. Her confidence seemed to be affected. But the way that she turned that around, and I say the big games that she stepped up in and scored the important goals, she had that one disallowed against Wolfsburg, whatever that was disallowed for, I do not know. She gets so many goals disallowed because she looks like she's offside sometimes when she isn't, because her running off the ball is so good that the assistants she's getting caught out with, the goal that she should have got a hat-trick against Brighton when she was on the side and they gave it offside, and that's happened a few times. And I don't know. I think she is so important to this team. And yes, we're hoping we're going to buy another striker this summer, one in particular that we're really hoping for. But whatever happens in the summer, whoever we buy, it shouldn't make any difference to Stina's importance in this team. I think she's had a brilliant season. She's really, really stepped up. She could have won, I'd say, 2 or 3 of these awards, but I'm going to give her the main one for me, because I just think she's been brilliant, and I can't wait to see how she pushes on for me next season. She's got 18 goals this season. I'd expect her to get 20, 25 next season with a fully fit team around her. So we'll see. But for me, I'm going to go for Stina as player of the season, but I'm sure other people have got other choices, and that's fine. And we know who you're going for. Again, that'll be a good choice as well.
Yeah, it's a good choice you've made. Stina had a great season, but I think it would be good to have a second striker and to be able to rotate.
Yeah.
I have on my notes a few names. I think most people wouldn't think about them for player of the season, but don't forget Rafa. Afa in defense.
Yes.
What a great season she played, and how much we missed her when she was out 2 months with injury, and she came back, and yeah, she didn't need a long time to be back at full fitness, and how important in defense, how strong she is in the air, and she scored the important goals against Wolfsburg, and yeah, I forgot. I think in the Conti Cup final she scored one after a corner. So yeah, she is one of the best players we had in this season, and we will miss her a lot in next season, and it will be difficult to replace her. Then I have Caitlin. If she wouldn't have been out for 2 months in a very important part of the second half of the season, I haven't seen a bad match from her. She was so important for the team, and yeah, around this City match when she went out injured, she was our best attacking player in these weeks. And Leah Walty, she had also a great season. She stepped up when needed, and I remember that I said about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Leah is not only playing the number 6 role, the holding midfield, she's also playing the Kim Little role. She's like 2 players on the pitch when it was needed. And yeah, great season from her. But my player of the season, yeah, I said it a few minutes before, it's Frida Mannen. I wouldn't have expected what she was doing in performances. It's just outstanding the whole season. I don't think I think one match in which she missed or in which she didn't start. She was all the time there. No injuries. No bad parts. Fantastic season. Player of the season, Frida Mannen for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to argue with that, really. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the only thing I would say, and it's maybe a slight criticism of us a little bit. Sometimes in that final third, she doesn't always make the right decisions, does she? She shoots when she should pass, or she passes when she could shoot, and sometimes she makes those wrong decisions. And she's still young and learning, and I'm sure that will improve in her game. But there's no doubt she's had a season, just incredible. And yeah, she definitely would be a worthy winner of player of the season. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure, a lot of people would agree definitely there. LG's gone for Frida as well. He says if it wasn't for the first half of the season, Stina would have been in contention. Yeah, but I sometimes you learn more about a player when things aren't going well, how they respond to that. And I think the fact that Stina responded so well to the difficulties that she had earlier in the season, to me, kind of shows real good character as well as good football. Jeff says Stina's football IQ is level. She's so good making them runs behind the defenders. We just need to release the ball quicker whenever she makes runs. Yeah, that's sometimes it's a problem. We don't release the ball quicker. Sometimes Frida's the one who doesn't release it quickly enough. Sometimes, not just her. Victoria's done it a few times as well. Terry, unsurprisingly, says just throwing this one out there. Super Jen deserves a shout. Well, she deserves a shout for those last few games of the season, definitely. But the whole season, I'm not too sure. Jeff says there, Stina, without any doubt, she has been facing some criticism for not being clinical in front of goal, but people forget she's our top scorer. Imagine if our DMs would release the ball more quickly. Yeah, I mean that's one of the issues. We said that as well. So he says Stina's first half of the season was due to playing out too wide, but once she moved down the middle, outstanding. Yeah, she still goes a little bit. Well, it's just in runs that she makes. It's just the way that she is. But yeah, certainly her finishing improved as the season went on. There's no doubt about it. Her confidence as well. So Matt, then we've got one vote for Frida, one vote for Stina. We've got a few Fridas and Stinas in the chat as well. Is it going to be one of those two, or are you going for someone else?
See, the fan favourite seems to be this season that is going to be Frida Mornham even, and Hudson Mornham even, to give her a full title. But for me, she's still got a lot to learn and improve on, and she's had a fantastic season. There's no taking that away, and the fact that she's signing for a few more years is great news. But for me, there's been so many fantastic players. The ones that we haven't mentioned, Katie, she's had a brilliant campaign. Okay, yes, she missed the penalty against Chelsea, but she's really stepped up. No red cards this season. She's
Yes, must be a first. Must be a first time.
I think this is her lowest amount of yellow cards she's had across her season. So it's huge improvements. But for me, Andreas has already said her name, Rafaela has just been so important to that defense. And when Leah wasn't there, she was the outlet and she was the one driving the ball forward. And she was also the ones making those last ditch challenges. And and she was just fantastic to watch. And I'm going to be honest, the fact that she was just towards the end tried to get a photo with her. Unfortunately, the stewards were turning around and pushing us away, so we couldn't get photos with her. But she's genuinely a nice person, and I think she knows that she's going to be missed so much, and I think it would kind of mean a little bit more for her to go out with a Player of the Season award, because she was a fantastic player. No taking away from Frieden, nothing to take away from Stina. It's just a little bit sentimental that Rafaela has been fantastic servant for us, and a bit unfortunate that she's decided to leave.
It is a real shame, and I know it's personal reasons, and you've got to respect that, and fair enough. But yeah, I mean, she has been brilliant for us. You know, in the time that she's been there, she's had a couple of injuries, so she hasn't played as many games as we would have liked her to have played. But yeah, she has been brilliant. You know, she's probably been, when she's played, she's probably been our best defender. I think there's no doubt about that. She's a threat in the other box from set pieces. She's great in the air. She's scored some important goals. And yeah, we're all going to miss her. I mean, the only reason why maybe I personally wouldn't have voted for her for Player of the Year is because she's leaving, and I'm sad that she's leaving, and you know, it's a shame. But she has been brilliant. There's no doubt about that. She has had a really good season as well. I say, the good news is there's been a lot of players that could have got a vote. Let's be honest. You know, you could have spread it around the team. So many players have stepped up, haven't they, when we've needed them? Caitlin Ford, as Andreas mentioned before, what a brilliant season she's had. Probably her best season for us. You know, she could have been in with a shout for most improved. Actually, I know she's always been a great player, but she's probably stepped up a level this season. You know, we missed her so much when she was injured. If she'd played in that semi-final, you know, who knows what the outcome may have been. You know, if we had her in the team. So, yeah, there's been so many. But, yeah, I think overall probably Frieda will probably win most of the Player of the Season awards for us because of the impact that she had. But it's good that there's so many choices. And, yeah, Rafa has had a brilliant season and she's been a brilliant player. Of course, we wish her all the best, you know, for her future career. And it's just a shame. And I think she thinks it's a shame as well that she wasn't able to stay for longer because, yeah, she's been a key player and yeah, she's been great. But yeah, we're going to miss her, and with Leah Williamson probably missing most of next season as well. We've got a problem in that position, haven't we? We have got a problem there that we need to address over the summer, and I'm sure we will. It's bad enough missing one of your best defenders without losing both of them at the same time, which is, you know, that is an issue that the club need to be working on now for the next. I think we need to buy 2 central defenders now. If I'm honest, we need at least 2, and let's hope that we can get them in the summer. But yeah, Terry says, yeah, good shout, Matt. Haver was class indeed. She was definitely class. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, we will miss her. Of course we will. But let's hope we can get some replacements in and we can deal with her missing. Jafar says there, the day Kim Little leaves, I will cry for the whole day. Yeah, I mean, she's not going to leave. She'll probably retire, won't she? More than leave. But yeah, it will be a sad day. Of course it will. She's been, what a player. Wow. It's impossible to underestimate how good she's been in her career, Kim Little. What she's done and what she's achieved in football is amazing. And yes, it will be a very sad day when she finally calls it a day. But we just want to see her fit next season, don't we? And back in the team and doing what she does. And, you know, I'm sure she's got another year or 2 left in her, I'm sure, you know, performing at this level for us, which is what we need. So that has been the 2022-2023 season, which, yeah, there's some great moments that we've looked on. There's been 1 or 2 really difficult moments as well, some sad moments in the season and some disappointments. But we won a trophy, and that's always good. And I think the goals have shown that there's a lot more to come from this team. There's a lot more to come. over the next couple of years or so, adding some players in. I'm sure that we will. It's a big summer coming up, isn't it? We need to make some signings. We know that. We need to try to get some of our players back fit again. You know, Beth's likely to be the first one to return, isn't she? At some point early in the season, hopefully. We need to give them all time, don't we? We don't expect Beth and Viv to come straight in the team and be straight away on their A game like they were. We need to give them time to get back to that level. It could take a while. They could have a few little injuries in the meantime as well. So I think next season we're probably not going to see the best of either of them, if we're honest. We're probably not. You know, it would be good to get them back in the team, but will we see the best of them next season? I'm not sure. And we're not going to see Leah or Laura pretty much at all, are we, for the whole of the next season? So, you know, again, difficulties. But luckily, we will have Kim Little should be back. Leah Walty should be back. So, you know, we will have one or two players back for the start of the season. But it's been a good season this season, hasn't it? It's always nice to win a trophy. The Champions League brought us some great moments and a brilliant finish to the competition for us was that 60,000 attendance at the Emirates, and what a performance the girls gave as well. That will live long in the memory, won't it? Along with lots of other moments from this season. But yeah, disappointment in the league, we know that. But yeah, we got a cup out of it, and that's always nice, isn't it? You can't get too many of those moments. We look forward to more of them next season. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a sad night because this is our last show of the season because it's all finished. The season kind of finishes tomorrow. It's the FA Cup final, and of course it's the Women's Champions League final as well tomorrow. So pretty much football finishes tomorrow. Really, I know there's the Conference League final next week or something, isn't there? West Ham are in that, so you know, good luck to them. And then, of course, a few weeks to go, and then the World Cup starts, which is good. Just quickly, obviously, the squad was announced. I think it was yesterday or the day before, wasn't it? The World Cup squad by Serena. Obviously, Lotta made it in there. She fully deserved to be in there as well. So great for her. Let's hope she can get some game time in this tournament. She deserves it, certainly. So it was good for her to be picked. Pretty much what we expected the squad to be, really. I mean, yes, it's a shame Nikita Parris didn't make it. She's had a good season at Man United. Maybe feel a little bit unfortunate not to have got picked. But we've got a lot of competition, haven't we, in the forward places these days. So, yeah, it's good to get the squad done. And now we can look forward to the World Cup starting in what? It's about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks time, isn't it? It starts, I think, something like 6, 7 weeks time. So, yeah, so it's good. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be good. The kickoff times are going to be a bit weird, but anyway, we'll adapt and get used to it. I'm sure it's going to be good. So we look forward to that. But yeah, it's our last show of the season, which is a very sad time. But it's been a great season on the show. We really enjoyed all you guys in the chat as well. We've had some great people join us this season. Some great comments as well, and hopefully we'll be back next season with more of the same, you know, maybe one or two little differences to the show. Maybe we'll try a few different things as well to keep it fresh. But we'll be back obviously with the Arsenal Women's Weekly again, probably when the Champions League qualifiers come round again. And we'll be doing some World Cup stuff as well during the World Cup. So we'll have some World Cup shows on as well once that starts. But we'll have a few weeks away probably to recover and have a rest and get ready for what's going to be, I'm sure, a big season next year. Andreas, thank you for joining us tonight. Have you enjoyed the show tonight? And more importantly, have you enjoyed the season with us? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, both. I enjoyed the show tonight because this was the best show of the season. We lived through all these moments once again, and talking about it, it was really coming back to my mind, all these moments, and fantastic. And overall over the season, it was just great to be part of this show, to discuss all the things week in, week out with you guys and with our people who were listening, who are watching and commenting. For me, it was just great to be a part of this. I enjoyed every moment, every show, and it made this season more special to be involved in this weekly show. It's just fantastic and gives me the feeling of being a part of the Arsenal family. So I'm looking forward for the next season and for the World Cup. Yeah, if you make a show for the World Cup, I'll be definitely in.
Yeah, no, I'll be doing some stuff for the World Cup, definitely. I know that the timing is going to be strange because the games kick off sort of during the day here and stuff. It's going to be strange, but we'll work something out to get some shows on. Even if we do an evening show, we can talk about the game that happened in the morning or whatever it is. So we'll get something in the World Cup, definitely, without a doubt. Jafar says in the chat there, great show as always. Big up to these legends. And thank you very much for joining us as well again. Terry says, fantastic show again, Richard, Matt and Andreas. Miss you guys. Many thanks for all the vlogs and the amount of hours you've put into Taylor. So yeah, the vlogs have been great this season, actually. That's one thing that we've been sort of has increased this season with a number of vlogs that we've done between us all. It's been great. They've been really, really good as well. Some great stuff there. And hopefully next season we can carry on and get more and more of that kind of stuff on the channel because it's great. I think people enjoy watching it as well. You know, it's a different experience of the game, isn't it? It gives people the opportunity to see the game from a different perspective on people that wasn't able to go. They can get some feel of it as well, which is great. So it's been good. Obviously, Matt, good to see you again. Have you enjoyed the show tonight? And obviously, I know you've not been on as much this season due to circumstances, but hopefully next season, will you be back, do you think, a little bit more regular, hopefully?
It's I'm hoping to. It'll be hopefully a little bit more regular. If not, I'll make sure I'm doing vlogs. The one thing I'll definitely make sure that I will not be doing is a vlog for Manchester United because I will not be stepping at Lay Sports Village ever again after the mess that was Lay Sports Village. For those that didn't know, essentially, just to run it as quickly as I can, it was terrible atmosphere. The fans were just a nightmare, and it was just horrible. I wouldn't. If you don't have a car, don't bother going. Essentially. But apart from that, yeah, I've really enjoyed this season. I've really enjoyed talking to a lot of different fans, and I've always enjoyed going along, talking to people, and especially doing podcasts like these. So it's fantastic to be part of, and hopefully be a bit more regular this time next season for sure.
Yeah, let's hope so. We miss you when you're not on, so it'd be great to have you back regular again if we can. Obviously, Ammar tonight wasn't able to make it due to work circumstances, but obviously Ammar is usually on the show, so he's been great to have on this season. Harry, again, he can't appear very often, Harry, unfortunately, due to his life circumstances. He's so busy, but hopefully we'll get Harry on a bit more next season as well if we can. And, maybe one or two new people as well can come on. If you're out watching the show and you enjoy what we do and you fancy getting involved in one of the shows or so next season, let us know. And it'd be good to get new people on as well and get different perspectives on it all. It's always good to see. LG says there, thank you guys for always making my Friday nights fun. No, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you guys in the chat. I mean, there's been a lot of great comments this season in the show, actually. A lot of people join us for the first time this season through the season, which has been great. So hopefully you guys will be back next season with us, enjoying it all again. Terry says, and to all in the chat, it's great to have your great input and to have met each and every one of you. All stay safe and see you all soon. Yeah, no, it has been great. I say there's been a lot of new people joining us this season in the chats and stuff like that, so that's good. And hopefully, I say you guys will be back with us next season for the World Cup as well. Terry says just a quick special thanks to Andreas for the amount of time, effort, and miles he has done this year. No, he's put some miles. There's no doubt about that. Flying around to London on several occasions to the game, which has been great. I mean, Matt's done some travelling for us as well. He's been to a lot of games this season, Matt has, so let's not leave Matt out of that as well. But yeah, no, it has been a great season. It has been great to be able to do this show once a week, have you guys on, and to be able to talk about something that we all love doing, which is watching this great team and enjoying all the moments along the way. So yeah, hopefully next season we'll have a lot more memories, a lot more great stuff to come, and we'll all look forward to that, I'm sure. So yeah, we'll probably have a few weeks off until the World Cup, maybe. Maybe one or two things in the meantime I might do as well, maybe part of it for the men's team as well. And if any transfers come in, who knows? We may do some shows looking at the new players that we've bought, which would be good, won't it? So we'll probably look at something like that as well as things go on. But yeah, for the time being, we're gonna have a little bit of a break. And hopefully enjoy some sunshine in the next few weeks if we get some, and bigger and better next season with some more great Arsenal women's content. We look forward to that. So thanks to everyone for watching all through the season. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Terry says, Matt's our pop star, a song to finish when game is okay. Terry wants a song from Matt then to finish the season in style. Go ahead, Matt. Pick a song and finish us off on a good high.
I think it's kind of fitting that we should do a half a song, shouldn't it? So
yes.
We got half a da 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 da. Oh, half a Ellie da 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 da. She plays in red and white, and she's better than Millie Bright. We got half a.
That's brilliant. Right. Half was better than Millie Bright. We'll take that all day long. But yeah, definitely. That was a great way to finish the season, actually. A great way to finish the show, and a nice little tribute there to, of course, Hafo is leaving us, unfortunately, but we wish her the best. So yeah, thanks to all you guys watching. Thanks to Andreas, to Matt, and also as well, I say to Amar as well for throughout the season, and to all you guys as well. Terry's gone 10 out of 10 for that one. There you go. You can't get much better than 10 out of 10, can you? So that's good. A bit like our Continental Cup season, a 10 out of 10. That's what we want to see. So yeah, it's been great. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone who's been on the show. And we will see you for the World Cup, if not before. Take it easy, guys. The weekend starts now, and the summer starts now because the football season is nearly finished. But enjoy the Champions League final tomorrow. We're going to enjoy that. Come on, Barcelona. Smash Wolfsburg, because we don't want Wolfsburg to win the week. We're all Barcelona fans tomorrow. I don't normally like Barcelona, but tomorrow we will be cheering for Barcelona to win. So we'll definitely enjoy that. Terry says, come on, you girls. Indeed, come on, you Gooner girls. Right, okay, that's it then. Ta-da, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Come on, you Gunners. We will see you soon. Enjoy the summer, and we'll be back
Bye-bye.
very soon. Thanks, guys. Take it easy. See you soon. To Arsenal now, Frida Marnham again inside here looking for a second goal. Oh, she's got a second goal. That seals it. Frida Marnham again.